Welcome back, you little goal setters. We are chatting all things goals today. So, I know if you listen to the DBE podcast, then you are likely a goal setter, a highly driven person who is motivated, who has big dreams, who knows they want to take big steps. And along that journey, a lot of times the motivation wears off, right? So, this is all about how do you stay motivated when a goal seems out of reach or when it feels like it's not working. Like the journey to get there isn't happening fast enough. It's not working. I know that there is so much frustration that can come up from that place, right? Where we're working towards something and it's not happening fast enough and we don't have that delayed gratification muscle on flex yet. And so it makes us want to quit. So the question here is, how do you stay motivated when the goal either seems too big, too far, too out of reach, or like the roadblocks to get there are almost feeling like not worth it? Now, everything that I'm sharing with you today is just stuff that I do. It's stuff that works for me. And so as always, take what you want and leave the rest. But I'm going to just rattle off a couple different things that I do when those goals seem so big, because I set some big freaking goals. To be honest, I rarely hit them. And that's the point. Like we have had the same goal for our Empower launch for 4 years and we have not hit it. But you know what's crazy is every single time we're getting closer to the target. And it's become this game of like, I don't even care necessarily to hit the goal anymore. Like the goal doesn't mean to me what it did back 4 years ago. But it's like the game of as long as we keep shooting for that thing, it's like the quote, I don't know, is it like shoot for the stars, reach the moon, or shoot for the moon, reach the stars? It's like no matter what, you're going to land further than if you shot small, if you were going for something that was much closer to you. But I also know that setting goals and having big goals can be really overwhelming. And that fear or that overwhelm usually drives us into inaction, analysis paralysis, right? Uncertainty, limiting beliefs. Overwhelm itself causes us to shut down. And what a lot of us do accidentally, and I'm at fault for this too, is we use consumption, we use learning, we use figuring it out and quote unquote getting ready as a mask for procrastination. So it's easier to sit in like the learning, even though we're not getting to the goal, we're not getting closer to the goal, we're not doing income producing activities, we're not doing things that really move the needle, but it's easier to sit in the comfortable, really uncomfortable place of like, I'm just going to keep getting ready to get ready to get ready to get ready. I'm going to keep learning. I'm going to keep practicing. I'm going to keep doing all those things so that I don't actually have to really take the full action, which means that there's also a level of responsibility that I would have to take when I take that full action. The whole thing is just like a mind F. You know what I mean? Okay. So here's what I do when the goals are feeling really far away, they're feeling unattainable, they're feeling too big, or I'm lacking motivation because the result isn't coming fast enough. So the first thing that I do is I sit down and I reflect, right? Like I'm going to reflect on where did I start? How far have I come? And sometimes this requires me to go way further back than just yesterday, way further back than a week ago, way further back than 3 months ago when I started working on this goal. But it might have me reflect and go back 6 years ago when this goal wasn't even in my vision, when this goal wasn't even part of my ether yet. But it's like, where have I come from? What did I learn along the way? Who have I become along the way? What other challenges have I overcome? What other roadblocks have I overcome that has built up the grit, the resilience, the tenacity, the skill set, the community, the network, all the things that I do have today? So sitting down and sort of reflecting backwards is always the first step that I take when I'm feeling really overwhelmed. The second thing that I do is I chunk it down. So we create these macro goals, these huge macro visions for our life and for our business. And they're so big that they are truly unattainable. They feel unattainable because you can't even see how you're going to get there. But we both know that getting there is actually requires, let's say, 30 different steps. And within each step, there likely is another 5 to 10 steps that are required in that one singular step in itself. And so it's awesome. Like we work with clients all the time that come in and they're like, okay, here's my vision. And it's like, I'm going to have this business that's going to do all these things. And I want to host retreats and I want to have a podcast and I want to have a YouTube page. And I also want to be able to coach my clients virtually online. I'm going to have a team of other coaches that are going to help me coach those people. And I'm going to speak on stages and I want to write a book. And it's like, okay, cool. But like, where are we going to start? Let's start with one of those things, because no business that you're looking at, that you're aspiring to be like, or that you're comparing yourself to, started with that. And when I think about my business, sometimes I think about that with our clients. I'm like, gosh, you looking at my business is like the worst thing that you can do, because I have been doing this for 12 years now. I do have a team. I've been doing it full time for 7 years. And it's like, we have a podcast and we have a YouTube and I speak on stages, and I haven't written a book yet, right? But it's like, we have all these things and we have the coaches. And so when you look at that and you think, number one, I want that, but number two, I have to have that in order to fill in the blank. That's a dangerous place to be. So looking at that and having this macro vision is amazing. And let that be your North Star. Let that be your guiding light. Let that be what you're working towards. But don't allow that massive vision that is just not going to happen overnight be the thing that stops you from taking action today. So chunk it down and create micro goals. They say all the time, right? Like, we overestimate what we can do in a day, but we underestimate what we can do in a year. And we're all guilty of this. I'm holding up a Post-it note here if you're on YouTube. This was a Post-it note checklist for yesterday. There's a lot of things on this checklist, and I think I did one of these things. Yes, I did. I did one of these things, and there are 3, 6, 9, 11 things on there, and I did one. So we oftentimes think we can get so much more done in a day, and then we don't realize how much we actually can get done in a year. And that in itself is the compound effect, right? It's like that famous kind of, not quote, but like that saying, or that, I don't know what it would be, like, not a word problem, but it's like, would you rather me give you $100,000 up front, or would you rather me give you a penny a day that compounds and doubles every single day for 30 days? I don't know if I got that right, but whatever it is, it's like the latter is $1 million. So there's like the instant gratification of like, give me the 100,000, or there's the understanding the compound effect of a penny doubled every single day over 30 days. Don't quote me on this because I don't know if I'm actually right, but it's like $1 million, right? And it's like, well, obviously I'd rather do that. So chunk it down and make micro goals. I'm going to use an example here just in business. So a lot of times, like, we'll write down the goal even on the Post-it note for the day, and we're right, create sales page. Well, golly, to create a sales page, there are a lot of things that you need to do. And I don't tell you this to overwhelm you. I tell you this so that you can take that idea of macro sales page, chunk it down to micro. So if you're going to create a sales page for something, what you actually need to do, number one, and not in any order, you're going to want to figure out, like, what's the branding, what's the vibe, what are the colors, what's the aesthetic, right? You're going to want to figure out, number two, the copy. Again, these are not in order. What's the copy going to be? Number three, the most important part of a sales page. What is the headline and then the subheadline? Number four, what's the offer? Like, what are you actually creating? What's the offer? What's the price point? Number seven, are you going to do different payment plans? Number eight, do you have to create any images in Canva that are going to be like really cute, or mock-ups or something that you're going to then move over to said sales page? Number nine, are there frequently asked questions that you want to have answers prepared to have on the very bottom of the page? So again, there are probably 30 things that you actually need to do in order to create a sales page. This podcast episode is not about that, but what it is about is how we think of these things macro and go, oh, I need to create a sales page. But micro, that's like, well, actually, there's 10, 20, 30 different things that need to happen in order for the sales page to effortlessly come together. So yeah, when you have a macro goal for your life or for your business or for your health or for your relationships, it's like the person who wants to lose 50 pounds. Okay, well, if you focus on losing 50, you're likely going to get overwhelmed. And the days that you don't feel like getting up off the couch to do anything and you haven't lost 49 pounds yet, there comes that little gremlin on our shoulder, that little voice that comes in. It's like, what's the point? Like, who cares? You haven't lost 49. What's the point? But it's like, why are we focusing on losing 50 when we should just be focusing on the first one? And if you could just focus on one this week, and then you focus on one next week, and then you focus on one next week, then it compounds, and 3 weeks in, you're 3 pounds down, right? So reflect on where you've been, where you've come from, what you've gone through, chunk down your goals from macro to micro. And then for me, I practice every single day. What are my daily wins? Like, what are the wins and the gratitudes of the day? Now, I know a lot of people talk about this, like, write in your journal first thing in the morning and 5 gratitudes and all these things. That's not what I'm saying. It doesn't have to be that specific. It doesn't need to be in the morning, but it is a great practice to get into, especially at night. When you are wrapping your day up, whether this becomes a habit, you can practice habit stacking. So habit stacking is the idea that when you already have a habit in your life, let's say like brushing your teeth, which I'm pretty sure that's a habit for you you stack another habit either on it or next to it. So it becomes this really easy thing to say, okay, now every time I brush my teeth, I'm going to get into the habit of also, whether it's in my mind or out loud or to my partner, I'm going to say 3 different things that I won today, like 3 different things that I overcame today, 3 different things that I'm really proud of myself for today. And they don't have to be business and they don't have to be financial, and getting into that practice. And at first you might forget some nights, or you might need to like write a little post-it note for yourself and stick it on your mirror to remind yourself when you brush your teeth, this is now something that you're just going to do. And over time, those 2 habits stacked on top or next to each other, the second one just becomes second nature, just like brushing your teeth is now second nature. It's not this thing that you have to think about. You just do it every night, right? So can you stack on reviewing some of those wins or gratitudes of the day, whether it's in the morning or night? It's totally fine. I think a win for the day obviously makes more sense at night, but really getting into the habit and stretching yourself, because there are going to be days that you cannot come up with something, and stretch yourself to come up with the 3 or the 5, because that practice in itself will get you to start seeing things differently. Because maybe the win for the day, because you really can't come up with anything, but it's like, you know what? I really wanted a brownie after dinner and like I didn't do it. I had an apple instead. And maybe that's a win. Maybe a win is like you bit your tongue from saying something that you really wanted to say, but you know if you said it to your child or your spouse or something, it would have blown up into an argument. But you bit your tongue and didn't say it. And maybe that's a win. Maybe a win is the fact that you just called your parent that day, right? And maybe that takes a lot of like effort and energy. Maybe you don't have the best relationship. Maybe that was a drain for you. Maybe the win is that you didn't hit the snooze button, or that you went for an extra 5 minutes on your walk during the day. So coming up with those like wins and gratitudes is going to help keep the motivation alive, because it's like a gold star at the end of the day. It's a pat on the back, and we love gold stars. We do. We love to be reminded and told like, hey, you're doing a great job. High five. I'm proud of you. That in itself will create the momentum, because motivation is fickle. Motivation is like coffee. It wears off. It's like caffeine. So we can't rely on always being motivated to do things to get things done. We have to find the motivation, which brings me to the next one, which I think is number 4 now. How do you motivate yourself? It's different for everybody. So for you, is it that you created a vision board and you're very visual, and every morning you need to approach the vision board and really look at it and feel into your body and embody what it would feel like to have and be and do the things that are on your board? Maybe you are a fan of post-it notes and quotes and affirmations. Maybe you just need to phone a friend when you're lacking motivation. Maybe you need to hire a coach and have someone in your corner, like where you're actually paying for the, like you're paying to pay attention, right? You're paying for the assistance, paying for the support, paying for the accountability. Maybe it's a therapist. Maybe for you, motivation comes from like, you know what? As crazy as it sounds, as soon as I put on like dance music, 5 minutes of dancing around in the room by myself, like I'm good. Like that shifts my energy. Or going for a walk, or stepping away from the thing that you're trying to do. It's like, I know myself enough to know that if I'm banging my head against the desk and I just can't seem to get it done, I actually need to go take a walk. Like I need to go outside, I need to get into nature, and I need to move my body. If I can shut the computer down and do like a 20-minute workout, it doesn't need to be some like big crazy thing, but like if I can just move for 15, 20 minutes, I come back more motivated than when I started, right? So it's all about knowing yourself and what actually motivates you, and being okay with giving yourself a carrot. I don't mean like literally, unless that's your jam, but like, what is your carrot? What's the thing hanging off of your forehead where you're on the treadmill running? You know, it's like, it's funny that it's a carrot, but like probably a donut, probably a brownie. And I'm not talking about food here, but it's like, what is that carrot for you to keep going? What is that thing for you to get excited? What is that thing for you? For me, a lot of times it's when in doubt, focus out. So when I'm in doubt, when I'm in lack, when I'm in limiting belief, when I'm in uncertainty, when I'm in lacking motivation, if I focus out on other people and service, usually that comes right back. It's like going to the gas station. I get right fueled back up. So the more that I can help other people, pour into my clients, answer questions, jump on and do a random live inside of our coaching portal, do a random live on Instagram, and see that I'm giving and I'm serving and I'm helping, and someone else is having a light bulb moment or an aha moment, I leave feeling more motivated than when I started. Call it selfish, right? But like, it's true. When you help other people, that's usually how we feel. Now, with that motivation and having that awareness of self, that is the next one, which I think is 5. I've got 2 more for you or 3 more for you. And 5 is being mindful. It's being present. It's having presence, having the awareness that we're talking about here to say, hey, I'm lacking. This is how I'm feeling. I'm lacking motivation right now. I'm aware that I'm not feeling my best. I'm aware that I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm aware that I'm experiencing feelings of anxiety. And with that awareness, I'm going to then move into acceptance. We've talked about the 3 A's before. So awareness, acceptance, and action. So I'm going to accept that I feel that way. I'm going to be okay with it. I'm not going to judge myself. And then I'm going to take action. So what does that mean? Well, what am I going to do? What am I going to do here? Am I going to phone a friend? Am I going to go for a walk? Am I going to step away? What am I going to do? Understand also that when we talk about energy and frequency, when we talk about vibration, so if you've ever seen when they put sand on like a metal plate and they move sound underneath the metal plate, the sand vibrates and it actually causes shapes. It creates shapes. It's crazy. And every frequency of sound creates a different shape consistently. It's crazy. It's wild. The frequency in your body of overwhelm is actually the exact same frequency as excited. So we confuse the two a lot. And when we feel overwhelmed, we're often actually just feeling excited, but we slap the label overwhelm on it as though it's bad and it's daunting and it's heavy and it's hard and it's scary and it causes anxiety and it causes us to not take action. So the next time you are feeling overwhelmed, it is likely because you have a lot on your plate for sure. We all do. But know that you can control the controllables. And so what you can control is that the feeling of overwhelm, while is the same feeling as excited, you're giving a lot of power to it with that label. So can you check yourself into awareness, check yourself into acceptance, and then say, you know what? I'm going to change what I can control, and I'm going to change the way that I think and talk about this. My body is feeling that frequency of excited, overwhelmed, but I'm going to choose to label it as I'm excited. This is new. I'm excited. This is uncharted territory. I'm excited. This is a big project. I'm excited. I'm working towards this goal. I'm excited. I'm getting one step closer. Right. So just kind of like reframing that label. And then the last one that I'm going to say here, I think this is 6 maybe, is to be mindful as well when we see obstacles as really training yourself to see them as growth. If you've ever taken a spin class or you've ever used a bicycle, outside or inside, when a trainer in the spin class tells you to turn the resistance up, they're like, reach down to the knob in between your knees and turn that resistance up. Let's work those muscles. It's when the resistance is up and that there's a stickiness to the pedal, when it's working the quads, working the hams, working the glutes, that's where the muscles are growing. It takes resistance for growth. When you're going downhill and they're like, all right, take the resistance off, let's cruise. And the music gets really fast and your legs are going 100 miles an hour and there's no resistance on, to the point where you're like, this kind of hurts my knees. Like, is this even safe? I don't know. My legs feel like they're going to pop off. Thank God the shoes are clipped in. You know what I mean? Growth is not happening in that. That's part of the cool down. That's part of maybe it's really good for your heart if we're doing like a quick sprint, but no growth in the leg muscle is happening without resistance. So the stickiness, the obstacles, the road bumps, the blocks, the challenges that come up along the way of you stepping in towards this goal that you created, you created it, right? Like, this is the one that you want. No one's forcing you to do this. The resistance is where you grow. So when it gets hard, because it's not a matter of if it gets hard, it's a matter of when it gets hard, when you feel a lack of motivation, when you don't feel like doing it that day, when it feels like it's quote unquote not worth it because it quote unquote isn't working, or when you're down on yourself because the gratification piece feels too delayed. Well, that's when I want you to realize that's actually the moment where you choose to either grow or shrink. It's a choice. Yeah, you're not going to be motivated 100% of the time. It's like caffeine, like I said. So when you're not motivated, when it feels hard, when you're in a moment of challenge, when the efforts don't feel like they're matching the results right now, that's the difference between the people who quote unquote make it and the people who don't. Because it's the ones who see that moment of resistance and that stickiness and that hard and that challenge and that it's not happening fast enough, and they quit, they stop, they slow down, they turn around, they pivot. They don't get the success that you're trying to shoot for. It's the 1%, it's the small percent of people who say, I know this trick. I've been here before. if I could just push past this song, if I could just get past this ride, if I could just step over this hump, I know what's on the other side. And it is impossible for me to not grow over that hump, to not grow on the other side of this challenge. So it's like head down and you got to do it, right? And this is where sometimes my clients call me spicy Jess when I get a little spicy. But this is where like the tough love kicks in. And as a coach, as a mentor, as a friend, I will tough love you all day. But it's like, okay, well, you're the only thing in your way. My fitness coach many, many years ago when I was competing in fitness, we were in a team of women across the world competing in fitness. And she used to tell us all the time, she'd say, this is not a sorority of suffering. Nobody's making you do this goal. Nobody made you sign up to compete in fitness. Nobody's making you carry around a gallon water jug and do your workouts and do the things so that you can step on stage. This was your goal. This is your adventure. This is your choice. Like you chose to be here. And so I want you to think about that with love, but it's like, that's your goal. You're the one who wanted to do it. You're the one who set out for it. So yeah, who told you? Like, when did you think? What story did you read that you just said, well, it's not supposed to be hard? Like, what fable was that? I'd love to know. It is supposed to be hard at times. And that's what makes it so worth it. The juice is worth the squeeze, right? That's what makes it so good on the other side. You know, it's interesting too. They ask people all the time, entrepreneurs specifically, like business owners, Fortune 500 companies, people like, Musk and Bezos, it's like app developers, like if you knew what it was going to take, would you have started it? And so often they say no. That's pretty telling. I was just reading a story the other day about that, particularly to an app, and I can't remember what app it was right now. It wasn't Airbnb, but a big, big app like that, like a really well-known app. Can't remember which one. Could have been like, like a Spotify, Airbnb, like something really big. And they asked the founder, they said, if you knew what it was going to take to get you here, would you have done it? And he flat out said no. And then followed it up with like, but of course I'm so grateful and like ignorance is bliss and thank goodness and yada, yada, yada. But it's like, yeah, if we knew what it was going to take, we might not do it. But that's not why you're doing it. You're not doing it. You're not chasing this goal because it's easy. Sitting on the couch and watching Netflix is easy. Sitting around and complaining about your life is easy. Grabbing the ice cream over the, salmon is easy. But we're not doing these goals. We're not shooting for these goals because they're easy. We're shooting for them because we want to change our lives. We're shooting for these goals because we have bigger dreams. We're shooting for these goals because we know we're meant for more. We are the trendsetters. We have the ball in our court. We're the artists. We paint the painting. We write the story. We're the creators of our own life. You would not be listening to this podcast if you did not believe that. Because while we chat a lot about business stuff here, we chat a lot about mindset stuff here. And this growth journey together that we're on is all about you being the 1%. You're the different. You're the person who's like, status quo. Not for me. No, I'm choosing a different path. I'm choosing a different life. Push me, stretch me. I want more. How much more? What can I do? How big can I go? So yes, how do you stay motivated when it wears off? How do you stay motivated when the goal seems so far out of reach? I mean, do what you need to do. Maybe for you, none of this resonated. Maybe for you, you're like, no, Jess, none of that. Actually, I just put my head down and put my blinders on. And I'm like, go for it. High five. But for me, I reflect on where I've come from. I've chunked down my macro to micro goals. I go through my daily wins every single day. And with that, I take Sarah Blakely's advice from her dad, how he raised her. And every day he said, what did you mess up today? What mistakes did you make today? Oh, I love that. I'm super aware with myself and present and mindful through breath and through meditation and through journaling of how am I feeling? What am I experiencing as a human? Is it overwhelm? Is it excitement? That's okay. And then knowing myself, how can I motivate myself? How can I reframe some of these obstacles and where can I focus on what I actually can control? And with all of that, the giant bow that wraps the whole thing up is delayed gratification. Delayed freaking gratification. That's like the clap, 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 clap. Gratification. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's hard today. It's hard today. Uber Eats, Google that, Amazon Prime, hit me there, da, 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 da. Everything's yesterday. Get it to me yesterday. Get it to me faster. I'm so used to it. Quick, open the app, download the thing. You don't even have to punch numbers in anymore. Just scan your face, right? Delayed gratification. It is a lost and dying skill. It is a lost and dying skill. I actually wrote my entire college thesis on delayed gratification. Talk about going back and reflecting. Golly, 20 something years ago, I wrote my entire college thesis on delayed gratification. How funny is that? And I believe that is a skill that I have mastered. And I credit so much of my quote unquote success to delayed gratification. I really do. I really do. And I credit all of my delayed gratification skills and capabilities to gymnastics. 10,000%. 10,000%. Sure, my parents had some stuff to do with it, nature, nurture, right? But golly, gymnastics, competitive gymnastics, 20 years of it, whatever, 16 years of it, delayed gratification to the max. You can't learn a backflip until you learn how to do a back handspring. You can't learn a back handspring until you learn how to do a back walkover. You can't learn a back walkover until you learn how to do a bridge. And my entire gymnastics career was that. You'd look at the girls who were 3, 4, 5 levels ahead of you and you'd go, I want to do that. That's what I used to tell them. I want to do that. Mom, I can't wait until I could do giants. That's when you're in a handstand, you're spinning around the bar, like around and around and around, right? Mom, I can't wait until I could do that. But you can't learn giants and before you even learn how to hang on the dang bar. You got to have the grip strength for it. Then you need to learn how to do a kip, and you can't learn how to do a kip until you learn how to do a glide. There's a million things. It's totally cumulative. It adds on. It's like math. You can't learn division until you know how to do addition and subtraction. You can't learn calculus until you learn all the basic things for, I don't know much about math, but you know what I mean? Delayed gratification. So there's your bonus. How do you stay motivated? Play the long game, my friend. We're not in it for the quick win. I'm not in it for the quick win. I'm in it for the long game, the lasting legacy, the life of impact. You get one shot. I'm in it for the long game. I'm not trying to rush to get to the end right now. I'm enjoying every single moment. The destination is in the doing every single day. Because you know what? We actually don't know that we have tomorrow. So why not just be present to what you have today, be proud of what you've done, and be excited about where you're going? And with that, my friends, cheers to your evolution. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you loved this episode, I invite you to be a part of our ripple effect and share it with a friend. And please, if you feel called, take 30 seconds to leave a 5-star review, and I'll be forever grateful. Until next time, cheers to your evolution.